There's an ancient sentry guarding your dreams, and he isn't you. It's not dreams you're lacking. You have more than enough of them. But every time you get close to one, you turn away. You open your eyes each morning with a promise. Today will be different. Then, a few minutes later, your fingers are already sliding across your phone screen like a reflex that needs no thought. 5 minutes becomes an hour. An hour swallows the entire morning. The strange thing is, you don't hate your goal. That very goal once made your heart race, once kept you awake at night imagining it. So why is it that every time you stand at the threshold of reaching it, some part of you chooses to run instead? This isn't one bad day. This is hundreds of identical days, stacked one on top of another like bricks building a wall you don't even realize you're constructing. And what's trapping you isn't laziness, no matter how much you blame yourself for it every night. In truth, your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do. The cage that imprisons you wasn't built out of weakness. It was built from the oldest survival mechanism in the human body, a mechanism quietly fighting against your own limitless dreams, one whose face you've never seen. The question isn't whether you deserve your dreams. The question is, do you have the courage to look straight at the one holding you captive before you find the key? Part 2. The ancient sentry inside your own head. Imagine this. Inside you, there isn't just one person. There are two. One stands on a mountain peak, arms raised high, eyes blazing with ambition. That one draws up grand plans, believes in great things, dares to dream without boundaries. But there's another. This one doesn't stand on the mountain peak. This one stands guard before the door, hand gripping a weapon, eyes never leaving the darkness, ready to block anything that carries the scent of risk. And here is a truth that will send a chill down your spine. That sentry always wins. Not because you're weak, but because he is far older than you imagine, older than your dreams, older than modern society itself. He is a legacy of hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, trained to do exactly one thing: keep you alive at any cost. To this ancient guardian, today's safety always matters more than tomorrow's dream. When you think about starting something difficult, he doesn't see opportunity. He sees danger. He sees the possibility of rejection, of failure, of being exposed as not good enough. And to an instinct trained back when humans still had to flee wild beasts, that exposure is every bit as dangerous as being hunted in the wilderness. So what does he do? He quietly pulls you away. He offers you an easy way out. Pick up your phone. That's all it takes. And the instant you obey, your brain registers that behavior with a tiny hit of relief. The discomfort dissolves. A wave of ease spreads through you. And your brain learns a dangerous lesson. Avoidance is the fastest way to feel good again. This isn't symbolism. It's how your brain actually learns. Reward, reinforcement, repetition. The sentry is just a name for a very real mechanism playing out inside your head right now. This doesn't happen once. It happens thousands of times, over and over, every day, until it's no longer a choice. It becomes a reflex, so deeply ingrained that you no longer notice you're being steered. The cruel irony is, the sentry isn't evil. He has never betrayed you. He is simply carrying out the duty assigned to him hundreds of thousands of years ago, back when real danger was a beast in the underbrush, not an unsent email or a phone call you haven't made. The problem is, the world has changed, but the old soldier hasn't. He is still fighting a war from prehistory, while your real war now is something else entirely. And while he diligently protects you from today's discomfort, he is quietly stealing something far greater, something that, once lost, you can never get back. Part 3. The price no one sees. What do you think you're losing every time you back down? A lazy afternoon. A day of procrastination. Small stuff, right? Wrong. You're losing something far more precious, and losing it in a way you never notice until it's too late. Every time you turn your back on difficult work, the watcher inside you isn't just protecting you from a moment of discomfort. He's carving another groove into your brain, a well-worn path that, next time, the retreating footsteps will follow more easily than the time before. Avoidance isn't a single act. It's an investment in the habit of avoidance itself. And every time you choose immediate comfort over your long-term dream, you're sending yourself a silent message. That dream doesn't really matter. No one says this out loud, but your brain is listening, remembering, believing it. Then night falls. You lie there, and the familiar feeling of guilt creeps back in. You think of it as a fitting punishment, a way to remind yourself to do better tomorrow. But here's what no one tells you. That guilt fixes nothing. It's doing more damage. Every night you berate yourself, you aren't building motivation. You're carving a dangerous belief deeper. I'm not good enough. And that belief, once it takes root, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You'll start acting as though it's true. Avoidance, guilt, the belief that you're inadequate. Then avoidance again, easier this time, because the groove has cut a little deeper. This isn't just a bad habit. It's a machine running on its own, feeding itself. It has a name, the self-betrayal loop, and the most frightening part is this. It doesn't need you to do anything more to keep turning. It only needs you to do nothing at all. And perhaps, right now, you're asking yourself, so what's wrong with me? Do I lack discipline? Do I lack some innate willpower that other people have? Stop for a second, because this is exactly where you've had it wrong for years. You believe successful people have something special that you lack, some innate inner fire. But motivation is just an emotion, coming and going like the weather. No one builds a solid life on a foundation that shifts between sunshine and storm. There is something that almost no one is ever taught. It isn't flashy. It isn't inspiring. It isn't even pleasant. But it determines almost every long-term achievement you've ever admired. Part 4. The morning the Sentry lost. The next morning looked exactly like every other morning. You opened your eyes. The old soldier was already standing there, as he always was, ready with his familiar whisper. I'm so tired today. Let's do it tomorrow. You could feel that fatigue. It was real, not something you imagined. You could feel the familiar pull toward your phone, toward comfort, toward the well-worn path you'd walked down countless times over the past 2 years. But this time, something was different. Very small, almost unnoticeable. You didn't try to defeat him. You didn't try to scream in his face that he was wrong. You didn't wait for some burst of willpower strong enough to knock him aside. You simply sat down, opened your laptop, and allowed yourself to work for exactly 15 minutes. Not an hour. Not until the work was done. Just 15 minutes. A number so small the Guardian hadn't even had time to realize something was happening, let alone sound the alarm. 15 minutes passed. No miracle occurred. No sudden burst of inspiration swept in. No feeling of finding yourself again. The kind those inspirational videos always promise. Just 15 minutes of work, a little uncomfortable, a little dull, and then it was over. The next day, the same thing happened again. He was still there, still whispering the same words. And you still sat down, 15 minutes, no more. The third day, then the fourth, then a week. And on some morning, you won't remember exactly which one, you noticed something strange. His whisper had grown a little quieter. The pull toward your phone had grown a little weaker. Not gone, but weaker. Why? Because every time you acted despite his warning, you were sending a signal back to him. This isn't dangerous. That ancient instinct, stubborn as it is, was still learning, slowly, reluctantly, but surely, that this discomfort isn't a survival threat. It's just the feeling of a door opening. No one defeats the Sentry in a single battle. You only gradually teach him to lower his weapon, 15 minutes at a time, day after day, until what once demanded an entire internal war becomes as ordinary a habit as tying your shoes. That's the whole secret. Nothing more glamorous than that. No magic formula, no fateful morning of awakening. Just a small system, repeated enough times, for long enough, to defeat the thing that had imprisoned you for years. But just when you think you've found your way out, another trap appears in front of you, far more cunning than laziness, because it wears the disguise of a virtue. Part 5. The enemy disguised as a friend. You had learned how to deal with the Sentry. 15 minutes a day, and gradually, his whisper had grown weaker. But then one morning, you sat down, opened your laptop, and couldn't write a single word. Not because you were tired, not because you were lazy. This time it was stranger than that. You wanted to do it badly. You had plenty of energy. You were even eager. But your fingers just hovered over the keyboard, refusing to come down. In your mind, an image appeared, strangely vivid. An image of the perfect version of whatever you were about to make. Polished words, a flawless plan, a result that would leave everyone impressed. And standing right beside that image was what you could actually produce right now, in your current state. Rough, unfinished, possibly flawed. The gap between those two images was too wide. And you did what you always do when facing that gap. You closed the laptop. Let me prepare more first. Let me think it through a little longer. This wasn't the old soldier. This voice sounded entirely different. It didn't say, "Danger, run." It said something far more subtle. "You deserve better than this. Don't produce something mediocre." Sounds like a compliment, doesn't it? Sounds like high standards, like admirable perfectionism. But look closer at what it's actually doing. It's keeping you frozen. Exactly like the Sentry, except this time, it isn't wearing the armor of fear. It's wearing the armor of excellence. This is the most cunning trap of all. Perfectionism isn't a high standard. It is fear, disguised as something that looks like virtue. Because if you never actually start, if you keep preparing, researching more, waiting for ideal conditions, then you never have to face the most frightening possibility of all, that you gave it your best effort, and the result still wasn't good enough. As long as you haven't tried, you still get to live in a safe world, a world where you could succeed if you wanted to. That illusion is far more comfortable than the truth you might discover the moment you actually try. So you wait. You wait for the perfect plan. You wait until you feel ready. You wait for ideal conditions to arrive. But perfect never comes. Ready never comes. Ideal never comes. And while you wait, time, the one thing you can never get back, quietly slips away. There's a truth you need to face, even though it isn't easy to hear. Failure is not the opposite of success. What is truly the opposite of success, what is quietly destroying you right now, is exactly what you're doing as you sit still behind that closed door. Part 6. The true opposite of success. Let me ask you a question, and I want you to actually stop and answer it. What do you think is the opposite of success? If you're like most people, the answer in your head is failure. That's a belief so deeply rooted you've never even thought to question it. Success and failure, two opposite ends of the same sliding scale, right? The further you stay from failure, the closer you get to success. But this is exactly the belief the Sentry has used to keep you standing still all these years. And it's wrong. Failure, however painful, still leaves something behind. A footprint, a lesson, proof that you once stepped through the door. Someone who has failed has, at least, been on the other side once. The true opposite of success isn't loud like that. It leaves no scar you can point to. It has no specific date you can blame. It is the time you spend standing in front of a door, believing it's locked, and never trying to push it. It is the 15 minutes you didn't sit down for. It is the day you closed the laptop because you were not ready, and then let that day pass without leaving a trace. No success, no failure, just nothing at all. And here is the most frightening thing about inaction. It doesn't cause pain right away, the way failure does. It gives you no moment to feel it and learn from it. It just quietly accumulates, night after night, behind that same door, until one day you look back and realize you've been standing in the exact same spot for years. Not because the door was too strong, but because you never actually put your hand on it. He knows this. It is his real weapon, not strength, but time. He doesn't need to defeat you. He only needs you to keep waiting, Keep preparing, keep believing that now isn't the right moment, and the years will do the rest of the work for him. So the question is no longer, how do I make sure I never fail again? The real question is, what happens the moment you place your hand on that door and discover it was never locked at all? Part 7. The door that was never locked. There's something about the cage you never knew, through all the years you spent living inside it. It wasn't that it was too sturdy. It wasn't that the bars were too thick or the lock too complicated to open. The most frightening thing about that cage is this. After long enough, you forget that its door was never locked in the first place. The sentry stands in front of that door not because he holds the key. He has no key at all. He simply stands there, long enough, steady enough, with enough whispers about not being ready, until you believe that door cannot be opened. And once you believe that, he doesn't need to do anything else. Your own belief locked the door for him. He never truly had power. He only had persistence. And the only thing that has ever defeated that persistence wasn't some explosive moment of courage. It was another kind of persistence, smaller, quieter, belonging to you. Once, then once more, then 100 times more. No miracle, no triumphant music. Just one morning, no different from any other morning, when the door simply opened, as if it had never truly been closed. He is still there. Maybe tomorrow he'll still whisper. Maybe next year too. But this time, you know you don't have to listen. Maybe tomorrow morning, nothing will look different at all. The phone will still be there. The fear will still be there. The sentry will still stand in front of the door, just as he has stood your whole life. The only thing that's different is that this time, you finally know the door was never locked.